Hey everybody, it's Don Martelli back for another episode of the PR Bunker. Today we're here to talk about is real media, as in like the news media, dead? And what impact does that have on folks like myself that are in PR, that have clients that want them in the media? So when I started in this business, I was a reporter for the Boston Globe, covered basic, crime and traffic issues and general assignment work for the paper. Covered a little bit of politics towards the end, a little bit of business here and there, but for the most part I covered general assignment. And back in those days, the paper was about 4 inches thick, and there was tons of advertising, and this is before the internet basically blew everything up. Today, we have 1 million channels at our disposal. Email, social media, text messaging, all the platforms that allow us to get into our target audiences stream very quickly and very targeted. But you still have clients that want to get in the paper, right? Get me on the front page of the Globe, get me in the New York Times, get me in the Wall Street Journal. Well, that stuff is not easy by any means. Newsrooms are smaller. There's less and less staff. Newspapers have closed. Advertising is basically not even existent anymore. These days, with COVID-19 being all the rage, if you will, the obituary page is bigger than the frickin' business page is it these days. So it's really, really hard to get media coverage, which is why, as somebody who's in PR, you should be counseling your clients to use other channels on a regular basis. So whether it be making sure you have a steady diet of emails going out to your clients, that your website is optimized, that your social media channels are active, you got to use these channels as if you were the Boston Globe, as if you were the media, and making sure you have good editorial planning around those channels. So regardless of where your audience is going to hit you, they're going to get the same message, same content, and it might just look differently or sound differently. Now, the most difficult part about all of this is that it's hard to manage the channels all at once, right? If you got 4 or 5 social media channels, your website to manage, your email process going, and other things that are in play, it's really hard to manage all these channels at once. It's like juggling. But the easiest way to do it is if you just make sure you understand which channels are the best at reaching your audience based on the kind of call to action you want. So if you're in higher education and you're trying to reach your average 18-year-old who's potentially thinking about doing online education or going back to campus whenever campuses open up again after COVID, you're not going to get them by pitching a story in the Boston Globe. You might get their parents that way, but you're not going to get the kid. So what you got to do is use, for example, Instagram stories or Snapchat or TikTok for that matter. That's where you're going to get them. I have a 16-year-old daughter who is getting tons and tons of emails as a sophomore in high school, and she's already, talking to me about, geez, they all look the same, Dad. They're all asking me to take this test or fill out this form, and there's really no personalization. So she's already desensitized to the content that she's getting. It's not personalized at all. So if you can personalize your information and your content as you're reaching out to your audiences, the better off you're going to be in terms of getting them to basically shit or get off the pot and follow that call to action that you want them to. But going back to media real quick, if you're thinking about pitching stories these days, you have to make sure that it's relevant. And not relevant to you, frankly, but relevant to what the newspaper or the TV station or that radio program is covering up, is doing at that particular point. For example, I got a client of mine called Brighton Marine, which is a veteran network in Brighton, Massachusetts, to help veterans get all the services they need, including career services, housing services, and so on and so forth. They have donated hundreds and hundreds of iPads to the soldiers' homes in Massachusetts, one in Chelsea, one in Holyoke, because these veterans cannot get access to their families because of the quarantine. So now the iPads will be able to allow the veterans to connect to their families. And the client didn't want any media coverage. They just wanted to go through the motions and give the donation to the soldiers' home because it's the right thing to do. But as their counselor, my job is to get the media coverage, and there was a slew of it. And why? Well, because it's COVID-related, 1. 2, it's veterans, which is a very sensitive topic these days. 3, both of those soldiers' homes have been under attack from the COVID virus. And now you have a client that is in the veteran space providing a communication tool to veterans to talk to their families because of COVID. All of those things equal a good news story. And if you're in PR I'm sure at some point you've had your clients say, hey, we need to be in the Globe today. I need to be in the New York Times today. Here's a pitch we want out. And you read it and you say, this is dog shit. There's no way this is getting picked up. Well, in cases like this is where your other channels come into play. Paid media, shared media, or owned media. This is sort of alluding to the PESO model, P-E-S-O, paid, earned, shared, and owned media. Paid media is obviously, what you pay for, right? Advertising or like social media advertising. Earned is, pitching the Globe and getting the story in the paper. Shared is your partners' channels, like so Bright Marine, whenever we post stuff for their social media channels, I and my agency shares their content, so that's shared media. And then owned is the owned channels that you have at your disposal. Your emails, channel, your social media, your website, anything you can control in terms of your message and your call to action is an owned channel. So if you can't get media coverage, look at the other three channels. And yeah, people don't want to spend money now because of the economy and what's going on, and I get all that, but you can target people on Facebook for a few $100. So it's not going to break the bank. And if you don't have the budget to do that, then focus on your own channels and activate the people that are around you in your network and try to elevate them to share your content on their channels, which comes into the shared side. So there's all types of ways to get quote-unquote media. You just got to be smart about it and think about that PESO model. One last bit of advice I'm going to leave y'all with today about media. Just like in life, relationships are critical, super, super critical. I was quoted in a Boston Globe article this past week. John Chesto, who's the lead business reporter for the paper, wrote a story about how the advertising business has changed because of COVID. And, there's a number of agencies that were quoted in there, and which is, cool because we're now, Belfort Group is included with some of the Hill Holidays and big firms of the region. But my take on it was that brands need to be thinking about how to drive thought leadership in today's environment in a way that doesn't come off as if they're ignoring what's going on in the world. For example, Bright Marine giving away the iPads, an architectural firm helping, the government redesign what interior of buildings should look like based on social distancing and those kind of practices. So be relevant, find a way to tell your story, but within the context of what's being discussed from a society standpoint. Appreciate everybody joining me again today. Still trying to figure out what to do with this podcast. So anybody that's out there that has ideas or suggestions or feedback, hit me up at donmartelli@gmail.com. Until next time, this is Don Martelli from the PR Bunker. Peace.